is Rachel, and today I'm going to be bringing you a few titles I am excited about that are releasing today, September 11th, 2018. And first up is a book called Freak and Gorgeous by Sebastian J. Plata, and I think I was attracted already by the cover of this one. And basically it's kind of like a swap. It's supposed to be in kind of a realistic setting, but they have this thing called inexplicable development, where your looks can change without any notice, I guess, like overnight. So one person who has been kind of average looking and under the radar wakes up gorgeous, and another person who was pretty popular and gorgeous wakes up not so gorgeous and eventually not so popular. And we follow their dual perspectives of their lives now that things have been switched. And the idea of how we look changes how our lives go. And I think this is going to be a very interesting story. I do like that they swapped it and made the boy the one that got really handsome. For some reason, I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting it to be two girls, but it's one boy and one girl. So I'm excited to read this one. Again, that is Freak and Gorgeous by Sebastian J. Plata. Next up is Born Scared by Kevin Brooks, and I believe this has been published previously. It looks like maybe in other countries, but it is coming out today by Candlewick Press here in the US. And it's following a boy who I believe has, is it agoraphobia, where they can't leave their house? And the snow's coming in, and he's out of medication, and he has to break out and try to find someone to help him. So that sounds like, a real nightmare. So I'm excited to see this. I think this is a young adult novel, so I'm very excited to see this kind of portrayal of a mental illness in kind of a thriller YA book. So this is very interesting. Again, Born Scared by Kevin Brooks. Next up is one I'm not 100% sure what it's about exactly, but the cover drew me in. It's called Otherworld by Pete Hautman, and I believe this is like a middle grade suspense thriller novel about something mysterious that happens in the woods, and that's all I know, but I love this cover. It sounds really intriguing, and it does say powerful connections of family and friends, so I think it'll have a nice, impactful ending for my students. But again, I'm excited for this. I love the cover. I just think kudos to whoever designed this cover. It drew me in. And yeah, I'm excited for a middle grade, woodsy mystery thriller this fall. Next up is Mercy Suarez Changes Gears by Meg Medina, and this seems like just kind of a coming-of-age story set in a middle grade for a younger child, person of color. I think this is great representation in middle grade novels. We're seeing a lot more of that now, and I love it. And I think this cover looks amazing. They must be in Florida. Look at those palm trees and those brightly colored houses, and I think the students overall love these kind of coming-of-age stories because the middle grade is such a finding yourself time. So I am excited to put this one in our school libraries and see what the kids think, and I'm excited to read it. I love the cover, and heading back into school now in the middle of Ohio, it might be nice to read a book set in sunny Florida. Next up is The Dinner List by Rebecca Serrell. I apologize if I butchered your last name. This one is supposed to be like a magical realism, and it's based around the game of like what 3 people, dead or alive, would you invite to dinner. I guess this girl shows up to her 30th birthday, and not only are her actual friends sitting at the table, but some people from her past that have major influences, including Audrey Hepburn. So I am interested to see how this is done, especially since it's called magical realism romance and not fantasy. Like, how are they going to keep it to a more realistic setting? And what would happen? Because I can't imagine what would happen if I got to have a dinner where I picked the guest alive or dead, whatever. So I'm very intrigued by this. I am very interested to see how they work all this in to a novel without calling it fantasy. Next up is a historical fiction middle grade novel, and it is the second in the Zora and Me series. It's called The Cursed Ground by T.R. Simon. And these books follow the kind of fictionalized historical account of Zora Neale Hurston's childhood, and I had never heard of these before, so I am so glad this one's coming out now, and I have found the series because I hadn't really heard of the first one, and I think it came out probably, well, let's look. The first one came out in 2010, and I had not heard of these, so I'm excited. Again, I love the cover. These covers are so fantastic lately, and I'm excited. I think this would be a great addition to our school library. Next up is one I'm not 100% sure about. I heard the title, it sounded interesting, so I am intrigued. I haven't heard much about it, like, period, so I'm interested. It's called Confessions of a Teenage Leper by Ashley Little, and this is about a girl. I think she's kind of the popular girl. She's got big plans, and all of a sudden she comes down with leprosy, but they don't realize it at first. It's misdiagnosed a couple times, and then when they finally do figure it out, some damage has already been done. I think she has to go away to get treatment, and it's just how, like, all of these things impact her high school life. So I'm interested. This sounds like a strange idea. I'm really interested. And like I said, I haven't heard about it too many other places. So I'm interested. I will definitely be looking into this one a little more. Next up is The Monster Detector. This is book 2 and Bigfoot and Littlefoot by Ellen Potter and illustrated by Felicita Sala. I have not read either one of these yet, but I am so excited to. I think this idea sounds so cute. I think this boy originally in the first book goes looking for Bigfoot, and or maybe just stumbles upon him, I'm not sure. Then he and Bigfoot team up together to solve mysteries. I mean, how do you even come up with that idea? But I'm excited. Like I said, this is the second one out now. They're, I believe, just aimed at middle grade, late elementary, middle grade-ish. Yeah, and I'm excited. I think the kids would like this. I think they would love the idea of teaming up with Bigfoot, so I'm excited to read these and see what I think. Next up is Fantastic Failures, True Stories of People Who Changed the World by Falling Down First by Luke Reynolds, and I mean, this is exactly what it says it is. It's a nonfiction for middle grade, and it's about famous people we know who have, failed pretty badly at one point. And I think it's always refreshing to hear these stories because, especially in the world of social media, you only see people's best all the time, and your worst, even though that's not necessarily what other people see. So I think people do have a tendency to compare their worst to somebody else's best. So it's always nice to see other people's failures. I know that sounds horrible, but it makes them more human, and it makes you realize that you're doing just fine. So I'm excited for this. I think this will be fun. This will be a great nonfiction to add to our school library. Next up is Burning Down the House, Punk Rock Revolution and the Fall of the Berlin Wall by Tim Moore. This just sounds like an amazing nonfiction novel. I like when they give us a lot of context of things. I have like a historical spatial awareness problem, if that makes sense. Like, if you tell me all these events, I can't put them together in a timeline. I can't say like all of these things happened at the same time. I could probably tell you when all the things happened, but it just doesn't click that they happen together. So I like that this book is going to take a lot of things that are happening and explain it further. I like that we're seeing history through the lens of music as well. I think this will be a really interesting nonfiction book. Next up is The Real Lolita, The Kidnapping of Sally Horner and the Novel That Scandalized the World by Sarah Weinman. I think that this sounds really interesting. This is supposed to be about the case that inspired Vladimir Nabokov's book Lolita. Obviously, probably you realize that by the title, but it's such an interesting idea. I've never read Lolita to begin with. I guess I should start there. But I had no idea that it was really based on the real life abduction of a girl. So I'm interested to read this. I think I would like to obviously pair it with a novel. But yeah, this sounds really interesting. I am intrigued. Next up is one that I have little information about. I've just heard it mentioned several places, so it's on my radar. It's called The Echo Room by Parker Peavyhouse. It's something about two teenagers, I think, being locked in some sort of like room or container together. That's all I really know. So it sounds very like dark and mysterious. I'm definitely interested. I believe this is a YA novel, so it's going to be on my radar, even though I know little to nothing about it. Next up is a children's nonfiction that ties into historical elements. I believe this is a series called The Thrifty Guides to History, and this one is specifically The Thrifty Guide to Ancient Greece, a handbook for time travelers. And I just think this sounds amazing. I know my students love reading about different places, different times in history, so this will be fun. The tagline says, if you had a time machine and could take a vacation anywhere in history, this is the only guidebook you would need. And I love that. I'm super excited. I didn't even realize this was a thing. So I will be looking into the series for sure. I don't think I mentioned that this is by Jonathan W. Stokes, so I will be looking into this entire series, but the one out today is The Thrifty Guide to Ancient Greece. And lastly is a picture book. It's called What Can a Citizen Do by Dave Eggers and Shauna Harris. And this is supposed to be just kind of an introduction to children about citizenship and being a good person, helping out your community. And I'm excited. The cover looks interesting. I think the kids might pick this up. So I'm excited to give it a read and see what I think. So there you have it, a few of the titles I am most excited about releasing today. I hope you found one that you enjoyed. If I forgot to mention one that you're excited about, let us know down below. And that's all for me today. So I will see you again soon in another video. Bye for now.